Last spring, when junior Molly Stine handed in her course registration form during a hurried gym class, she signed up for Honors Latin 5, the course her teacher and guidance counselor had recommended. However, this past August, when she received her 11th grade schedule, Molly was surprised to find she had been placed into Spanish 1 instead. Lacking the required student enrollment, the Honors Latin 5 class, among others, did not run this year.
Well, I know last year I enrolled in Honors Latin 5 for the next year, and it turned out that they couldn't offer it because not enough kids were going to take it. And so I didn't really get any notification of them dropping the class from the curriculum or whatever. And so I had to call the school and figure out that I couldn't take Latin anymore because I couldn't get into AP at that point. So I ended up having to take Spanish 1, which was a little bit frustrating, but I like it now that I'm in it.
This year, to fill courses more effectively, class registration was, for the first time, online. Not only did students have more time to select classes through their PowerSchool accounts, introduced last year for online access to grades and attendance, the administration and guidance department now have more accurate computerized data to better facilitate student demand.
Well, one of the things we're hoping and expecting is that this system will give us more accurate data right from the start. It's a student-driven schedule, and we've had a student-driven schedule, but by doing it online, we've been able to move some of the timelines up for this process, and where there are parts of it were done over the summer, and typically in July and even kind of early August, we're trying to put it together. Our goal is to try to have our master schedule at least built before we go at the end of the year. I think by doing that, that'll help us to resolve some more conflicts and get students in the classes that they want to take.
By giving students more time to complete their course registrations, administration is hoping that students will make more informed decisions when deciding what classes to enroll in.
By doing this, what we're hoping to do is kind of flip that around so that the students have a chance to do some research on their own, look at the courses that are out there, think about what they'd like to take, select those courses online, and then have the conversation with the counselor. So it's a student-driven conversation with the counselor instead of kind of a canned presentation.
I think the students have been great and very responsive, and it was like, oh, this is the most natural thing in the world for us. And I had predicted that we would have an incompletion rate, in other words, students who did not complete, in excess of 10%. It actually was much under that. I can't remember what the percentage is. It's like 6 maybe or 7% only.
In order to prevent a high incompletion rate, administration made the decision not to have the incoming 9th grade class complete course registration online. Instead, they chose to have 75% of students enroll online in order to resolve any issues they might encounter before having all students do so in the future. While most hiccups were quickly and easily solved, such as username and password discrepancies, some students encountered problems while appealing for courses.
I thought it was generally smooth, but there were some instances where, for instance, appealing for different courses, if your teacher doesn't recommend you for a course and you want to take it, it doesn't, it kind of takes a while for you to, get it all in, because if you don't have one part of the, appeal, you have to start all over again, and it doesn't save your work.
One thing that I did find was that if you had been recommended for, say, an honors class and you wanted to opt out of that class and take the regular class instead, then you weren't able to do that. You had to send in your request form with that class and then go to your guidance counselor and have them change it for you.
A couple of the bumps were mainly just in courses that I wanted to go through that weren't offered, because I'll be testing into Spanish 2 next year, and for that you have to talk to your guidance counselor. Well, I know there's some systems also with, say, the orchestra elective and engineering elective, trying to get that into sort of one semester instead of all year long. And for that, there's a possibility it's not going to roll, but that just has to be dealt with by the teachers, and I guess I'll just wait and see.
However, the guidance counselors are very quick to remind students that even if a class doesn't run 1 year due to a lack of numbers, it can still be offered in the future.
This really isn't any different than any other year. This going electronically didn't change this process. And that is always, if there's insufficient demand for the course is not offered. Considering we use our resources, we don't have any where there is the most demand.
administration and the scheduling system is responsive to the students and based on what we know students need as well. So I think it's always going to be, if there's a demand for something, at some point, if students express demand, there probably will be some attention paid to that. But it's a big puzzle of allocating the staff and the rooms and all of the things that go along with scheduling 1,300 plus students.
Dr. Lutze further emphasized the importance of keeping classes in the program of studies.
What we do, which I believe in, is we don't, when classes don't run, we don't remove them from our program of studies. They're still in the program. Because sometimes what happens in a course, like an AP language course, or even a language course that maybe doesn't have generally high enrollment in the course that comes before, we may not be able to run a course every single year. So absolutely, if a course doesn't run like that, any course doesn't run, the following year, if people are still interested in taking it, it'll be there for them to select. Because one of the things we always try to do is offer the most opportunities for students that we can. And one of the ways we do that is by having a very expansive program of studies that they can choose from. But as 1,300 students, as we go through, some of those courses will kind of come and go depending upon where the student body is at any given time.
However, if a class is consistently unable to run, it may be reconsidered and dropped from the course of studies. In the past, this has happened with courses such as German.
Well, the dropping of any course is not necessarily sudden nor an easy decision necessarily. German was dropped because the demand was not there from students.
It was a following, but it was very small. And so, generally speaking, administration really tries offering 3 years. So if a student has started German, we want to make sure they can get at least 3 years of it. Well, once we got those kids through their 3 years and we weren't getting enough signing up in level 1 and 2, then it phased out.
The World Languages Department currently offers classes of varying levels in Chinese, French, Latin, and Spanish, with the most students currently enrolled in the latter.
French and Latin and Chinese can be very difficult decisions at times. There's sometimes very small enrollment depending on the level and whether it's an honor section or a regular section.
According to Dr. Lutze, administration generally uses a requirement of at least 12 students per class.
And so we actually have often been told something more like 14 as being a rule of thumb to try to run a class, not to say that we haven't seen on all the sections that we would like to. We often struggle with students to have them understand that everything that's in the course of studies guide is offered. It's a course that we have and it's a course we offer. And then it's just a question of whether it can run or not, depending on numbers.
However, many students believe that exceptions should be made for certain classes.
I think there should be exceptions for AP classes and more advanced classes because they're, even in a smaller environment, individualized attention is definitely also important. And then it's definitely give the people the opportunity to go and develop in places they excel in like an AP atmosphere.
Exactly, because in some of the smaller classes, if you have less people, then they're most likely able to get through more, and it's just easier most of the times.
Some students believe that exceptions should not necessarily only be offered to higher level classes, but for all classes that could still function effectively and even benefit from smaller class sizes.
I think the schools should give the students a chance, because class to class it changes what the need for a certain class is.
In the past, administration and departments, including the World Languages Department, have worked together to try to find alternatives for smaller groups of students interested in pursuing certain subjects.
Already, quite a few students have been able to pursue languages through our independent studies program. We actually have Rosetta Stone for those students in the lab.
This year, the World Languages Department has also utilized Live Mocha, an online language learning community with over 12 million registered members that provides instructional material in 38 languages.
Live Mocha is definitely something that we are piloting this year and is very helpful for students who want to study something that we can't, either as a support something outside of class, but also to pursue a language that we can't offer in the classroom because we don't have enough students. So we've got to get creative, I think, sometimes.